So when you arrived today, hopefully you received a small square of tissue, and if you are at home, you might want to grab just a small piece of paper. We're going to use it a little later today in our talk, in our time together. So there are numerous scripture in the Bible that begin with, "It came to pass." There are numerous scripture in the Old and New Testament that begin with either "it came to pass" or "it shall come to pass." And it's been determined that the Old Testament has those two phrases about 1,200 times. That's a lot. And the Old Testament, "it shall come to pass," is a promise for the future. And when we turn to Luke 2, it says, "And it came to pass in those days there went out a decree from Caesar Augusta that all the world should be taxed." And we know that that decree was the inspiration for Mary and Joseph to travel to Bethlehem in time for the birth of Jesus, the Christ. When we look at that scripture beyond the literal, we learn that Nazareth represents a commonplace state of mind, a mediocre way of thinking, and Bethlehem represents sustenance. So Mary and Joseph moved from ordinary commonplace thinking and arrived at Bethlehem, a place of sustenance for their spiritual growth. And as we hear that Christmas story, we can assume that there was some significant growth in that experience. Mediocrity passes, and the sustenance of spirit makes its presence known as it came to pass. In Luke 2:15 says, "And it came to pass, as angels were gone away from them, the shepherds, into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, 'Let's go to Bethlehem. Let's see this baby that has been born, which the angels spoke to us.'" Now, remember, when the angels arrived to greet the shepherds, they were very much afraid. That's also part of the Christmas story. So the astonishment and even the fearfulness at the presence of the angels passed away. And they made their way into the city of Bethlehem to see the Christ child. It came to pass. It came to pass in Matthew 1:11, verse 1. "It came to pass, Jesus finished instructing his 12 disciples, and he departed from there to preach in the cities." In this verse, "it came to pass," indicates that there was a start of something new in Jesus' ministry. He went from teaching the disciples to teaching in the cities. It came to pass. Now, in light of yesterday's news of the shooting, my heart felt another experience of "it came to pass." It came to pass that a Western nation was embroiled in anger and conflict and chaos and violence. That Western nation is us. It came to pass. When I look at the scriptures that I noted, I noticed that it came to pass was an invitation. It was an invitation for Mary and Joseph to travel. Yes, it was a decree, but it also invited them to make that journey. The angels extended an invitation to the shepherds to make their way to see the Christ child. And we, as a country, now stand open with an invitation. An invitation, it came to pass. So do we stay where we are? Or do we allow it to come to pass and grow and move into something greater, something better than what our human eyes are seeing today? Our nation is living in this call to action, to move from one level of consciousness to another, to move from judgment and fear and accusation and blame and shaming and guilting, to step into courage, which is the threshold of change from those low vibrational thoughts and feelings to higher vibrational thoughts of feelings of acceptance. Acceptance that every single one of us sitting here today and those of you at home all have a different perspective and perception of what should and must be in life. But to accept that we have those differences and to learn to appreciate those differences and learn to use those differences to make ourselves more knowledgeable, to expand our awareness and our understanding and our compassion towards one another. So do we stay in this place, or do we live in that spaciousness of it shall come to pass? That we move into peace, love, and joy and enlightenment of humanity, and how we shall be together. We are at that place. I believe with all my heart that that invitation is here for us as individuals, as a nation, and as a world. It shall come to pass, or it came to pass. So what in our modern day world has come to pass for you? Think of what has moved into your life for the purpose of passing through your life. Think of what may have arrived in your life to change us, to grow us, to expand us, and to inspire us. And then move on. Last week, I traveled to the place of my youth for a funeral of a very dear and beloved aunt. My favorite aunt, if I might say that publicly. She never forgot a birthday or Valentine's Day or Easter or Thanksgiving or Christmas or just because it's spring. She sent cards until she was about 81 or 82 when her husband passed and she couldn't get out to the stores regularly as she liked, so she turned to text messages. And never an occasion went by that she didn't text. That was her specialness to me, to all of my cousins, to her grandchildren, and even her great-grandchild. So when we gathered, we acknowledged her. And her passing was swift and free of suffering. And at the age of 83, might I say, it was a shock. It was unexpected, but it was. She lived at home, independent, but it was still a surprise. Life comes to pass. We all leave this earthly realm, and with that passing of our human life, there is grief, grief comes. And grief comes to pass as our hearts heal and are knitted back together. Of course, grief is on its own schedule. It shows up when it pleases, how it pleases. We have no control over when grief grabs us in its own unique way. Our experience of grief comes to pass. But our memories will put a smile on our face before tears flow. And that's how we know we are healing, when a smile comes before the tears. So grief comes to pass when we experience it in our jobs. Our work often comes to pass. Sometimes we lose interest. Sometimes a company will release us, or we might retire. Relationships sometimes come to pass. Marriages dissolve, friendships fade, and family disputes sometimes cause separation. Like the seasons of the year, spring comes to pass into summer. Summer comes to pass into the coolness of fall. Fall comes to pass to the restfulness of winter, which passes into the rebirth of spring again. And it came to pass. While the experience of life may have come to pass, there are those things that we cling to. Or let me speak for myself. There are those things that I cling to. I attach myself to. Sometimes we tell stories of life over and over and over again until we're tired of hearing them ourselves. We get weary of hearing our own stories. Those are the stories that are so ingrained in us that we stumble over them. Each time the universe presents us with an opportunity to express something else or to grow and express something stronger and more alive. These are the stories that have become the fixtures in our life, and we fall for them. We use them as the reasons. No, we use them for the excuses to stay small rather than take that leap to live all of the goodness that the universe has for us and to live the greatness that is our true nature. We cling to the bruises and the injuries of our life. The classmate who teased us because we wore glasses in the 3rd grade, even though that was 1963. We tell the stories and we feel the smallness of the teacher who embarrassed us when we bent the dress code far beyond breaking point. And oh heck, that was 1973. The family member who no longer communicates us, even though their absence allows much more peace in our life than their presence ever did, we still cling to that story of victim. Or the boss who released us from a job that we didn't want, we didn't enjoy, we didn't like going to work anyway, but we cling to those stories. The stories of what has come to pass. And when we do that, we block the flow of the universe and we clog our lives with the messiness, and there's no room for our good to come in for us. It's all backed up with the messy stories. So part of our human condition is sometimes that we cling to the hurt, the anger, the resentment, the jealousy, the judgment, the unforgiveness that stops us and blocks the flow of the joy, the love, the health, the abundance, the allowance for others to be themselves, and the freedom that comes with forgiveness. And forgiveness only frees us from the bondage of the judgment. So because we are all caught up and attached to what has really come to pass, so what is it for you? What is that one thing in your life that you hang on to that really came to pass? What is it that blocks you from living the fullness of your goodness, the fullness of your divine, true nature? What is it for you? What is it that has come to pass, but you still have an attachment to? What is it that has come to pass and is so familiar that it feels safer than the unknown? What is it that has come to pass but sits in our life like a boulder in the middle of life, taking up a bunch of space that could be filled with loving kindness, compassion, gentleness, love? So pause for a moment, and in the silence, allow that still small voice to inform you of what has come to pass but is kind of stuck. When you come to that thing in your life that's still there, make a note on that tissue. And when you are ready, step forward and allow the flame of the burning bowl to dissolve what has come to pass. When you are ready, step forward and watch what has come to pass dissolve. and it came to pass. And now we have allowed it to pass. We allowed to pass all that has come. Oh. We have allowed it to come. We have allowed it to pass. There is nothing but ashes that remain. And now we can live in that divine flow of the universe. We can unclog our hearts. We can open our lives to receive all the goodness that the universe has for us. We affirm always that the universe supports our highest good and most deeply held intentions. So that's what we wait for. By whatever name you call that God, Great Spirit, that essence and energy that is greater than ourselves. What did we call that this morning? That which moves in all beings, that which is the source of all love and the cause of all life. We get to move in that. We get to experience that. We get to be that. Because we have allowed everything else to pass. And we always remember to let all you do be done with love. Namaste.